Hey, welcome back. This is the IRS Radio Hour on AM 560. The Answer. Here with Deborah Schreiner and Jim Leahy. And we're here on the, did I say IRS Radio Hour? Well, that's what we are.
No, but we're here on AM 560.
The Answer.
That's right.
It's the blog segment. The blog. The blog.
You know it's Sunday at 5 when this music hits?
I know you love it, as I do.
I've come to love it. I think it's a great segment.
I actually was talking to the listeners, but I could talk to you too. Okay, so let me tell you this.
Well, no, before you go, ladies and gentlemen, again, I am the show's realtor, and if you are looking for a beautiful home in beautiful Bannockburn, I say beautiful a lot, it's huge. No, but for real, I do have a home listed in Bannockburn, 4.8 acres, 5 bedrooms, 4 baths. We are singing at $689,900. You're not going to find a better price for
bargain.
That. For real, ladies and gentlemen, if you're interested, give me, Jim Leahy, with That Properties a call today, 847-271-3695.
Now, I'm going to stay fired up from the last segment because I was talking about the government and how they can set people up and how you shouldn't trust them. And the name of this segment is really why you should have an attorney represent you in front of the IRS, actually in front of any governmental agency, and not just some representative, okay? Because the IRS lets CPAs represent you. They let these, what they call enrolled agents, represent you. Uh-huh. And I have enrolled agents that work for my outfit, and they're great. But you need an attorney's office, okay? Because if you look at the first there's the IRS code, statutes, and the statutes, it's a big thick book. It's unbelievable how thick the book is. And they break those statutes down into what they call the IRM, the Internal Revenue Manual. And this manual covers every aspect of collections. And in any area, collections is just one part of 39 parts. There's 39 different parts. Part 5 is collections. Then you have appeals and all this stuff. And so nobody could know all of that manual. Okay. And certainly your revenue officer doesn't know it. They have been exposed to it, but I could tell you this: nobody ever holds their feet to the fire and make them follow the darn manual. Okay, they kind of go about their own way because nobody's there because everybody's afraid of them. Okay, and then they lead you down this. Well, that's right. Because I'm an attorney and I understand what the rules are. And oftentimes the revenue officers, they don't care what the rules are. And then they try to manipulate the rules, as I was just talking about with the FBI. They try to manipulate the rules to make them, to go around them.
Before you even continue this is why it's so important. This is why it's so important to have representation. We talked about this for the past month. Even if it is an attorney, Stephen Leahy, but get somebody.
I have 2 cases that just this last couple of weeks that demonstrate this so amazingly. Okay, so I got one guy. He comes to me. He's already being levied. We try to get the levy removed. I believe we set up a installment agreement, or at least we proposed an installment agreement. The revenue officer says we didn't, and goes ahead and files a levy against my client. And then I appealed that. And I won the appeal. Okay. And then they did an administrative appeal of my appeal. Okay. And that was kind of a super secret because I wasn't involved in that. The appeal I'm involved in, and it was a third party and who's not going to talk to the IRS, and they make a third party distant determination about what should happen, and they went my way. Okay. They went to some on my appeal, and I wasn't involved in it, and they overruled my appeal. And all of a sudden they start, and how I found out about it is because they started levying my guy again. I could appeal again, and I would have won that appeal. But the problem is, my guy is going to lose his paycheck because they have this levy, and even during the appeals, my paycheck is coming. So what did we do? Well, we filed for protection under the bankruptcy laws. Because the only thing more powerful than the IRS in our society is the federal court system. And that's why if you go to some guy and he doesn't file bankruptcies,
bankruptcy isn't always going to work for you.
No, I'm not talking. But if you don't do it, and it is right for you, and the guy that you're trying to get the help you doesn't know how to do it, or isn't qualified to do it, or doesn't have the credentials to do it. Well, a big part of your defense is gone. Okay, so that's a reason why you need an attorney to do this. And I'm going to tell you another story. Okay, and we filed for, now my guy owed about over $100,000, and we were going to try to work out some sort of payment plan. They wouldn't let us, so he's going to discharge almost all of that debt. It's all going to be discharged in bankruptcy, and we'll talk about that in another how you can do this, and we'll talk about that in another show. But no, suffice it to say that sometimes IRS debt is not. IRS debt is not consumer debt, but and I'll explain that in another show. But anyway, so my guy actually wins in this. Okay, so the IRS guy is manipulating us and going around us and pulling all these extraordinary provisions out, and we still win. Okay, so and that's important. So then I got another story. Okay, so I got another client, and I propose again very similar in that I propose a installment agreement. Now remember, when you propose an installment agreement, they can't do levies against you. Okay, but my guy, they did a levy against me. They said, well, we're not going to recognize your installment agreement because we're going to call it a delay tactic. And technically, if it's a delay tactic, this is another extraordinary provision that says, okay, even though you're not supposed to levy, if they do in a delay tactic, then you can levy. But there's certain criteria that they have to be met in order to categorize it as a delay tactic. And we didn't meet the criteria. So I write a big brief about this, and I go over the revenue officer's head, and those people agree with me. Her supervisors, okay, there is a installment agreement pending, so we can't do any levies. And then I get a levy. And then
how do they?
So this is how they did it. Okay, so there's another extraordinary thing that a provision. It's called a jeopardy levy, and they say, well, if your client is dissipating assets and it puts the IRS claims in jeopardy that they're never going to get paid, then we can do this jeopardy levy where we don't have to follow the regular rules, and we can go ahead and send a levy out anyway. Okay, so now I'm up in arms because my client did sell some assets, but they were directed by the revenue officer to sell the assets. So the revenue officer says, "Hey, sell those assets." My client sells the assets, and then they say, "Okay, that's reason for us to go get around the rules." And
that's terrifying.
And then she mischaracterizes what's going on because it has to go through her to her supervisors, and they approved it. And because she mischaracterized it, in my opinion, I know she did. And anyway, and so I go above above her again. Actually, I went 2 levels above her, and they again agreed with me, and we came up with another remedy. But and that this revenue officer told me she would never ever agree to, and yet her supervisor did agree to it. Okay, so this is important. This is why you need to use the manual and the law to hold them accountable to the rules, and that's why it's so important. And you need an attorney, not just some representative, not some of these outfits who say, "Oh, we help everybody with IRS problems." And unless your IRS problem's not that important to you and you don't really care, it's not really hurting you that much, well, then get one of them. But if it's important to you and you need to get help, you need to get the right help. You need to get somebody that's going to use all the statutes and all the tricks and you know what's going on. So in this same example, one of this client, she was using a CPA before she hired me, and the IRS agent was leading them to oblivion, and the CPA did not even know it because he didn't know the rules. Okay, so she said there was not she told the CPA that you can never get an installment agreement. They owed too much money. That's just not true. And because there wasn't going to be an installment agreement, they were going to levy and take her house away from her some months before, and they were just trying to comply, but they didn't even know what was going on. Okay, so when I got it, I'm like, oh, this is what's going on. They're leading you down this road to hit you over the head and take your things away from you, and you're not even going to know it. This is going to happen. You're not even going to be aware of it. Unbelievable. Anyway, you got to get help. You need help. Whether you contact me or someone else, get a lawyer to help you. Don't get, unless it's not important to you. Well, then don't worry about it. But if it's important to you, get legal advice.
That's right. Open tax resolution, ladies and gentlemen. 312-664-6649. Or visit ChicagoTaxTeam.com. That's going to be your help to fight the IRS. Go on there, access old videos, blog reports. It's a great tool to help get you back on track for financial financial success. Now, ladies and gentlemen, stay tuned because after the commercial break, more IRS radio hours coming your way. And we're going to be doing the Trump segment. Anyway, stay tuned here on AM 560, The Answer.